All right, today we're diving into a story that starts out so peacefully, just a quiet afternoon by a lake. But believe me, it spirals, and fast, into a wild case of attempted murder, a secret baby, and a web of lies so thick it threatens to swallow a grandmother whole. And it all kicks off with one absolutely shocking sight. I mean, just listen to this. That's the first line of our story, coming from a 63-year-old grandmother named Ellie Whitlock. Can you even imagine seeing that? An act so bizarre, so horrifying, it just completely shatters the peace of her quiet life. And from this one moment, a chain of events kicks off that, trust me, nobody could have seen coming. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. Ellie's just sitting on her porch. It overlooks this beautiful place, Lake Juniper. And that's when she sees her daughter-in-law, Sloane, down by the shore. And she's acting, well, frantic is the only word for it. And then everything just explodes into action. It's a terrifying rush. Sloane chucks the suitcase into the water and just speeds off. Gone. Ellie, with this horrible gut feeling, doesn't even hesitate. She wades into that freezing water herself. She manages to drag out this heavy, soaked bag, and as she jets it to the shore, she hears it. A faint, muffled cry. She opens it up and, oh my God. Inside is a newborn baby, wrapped in a wet blanket, blue from the cold and just barely breathing. So, Ellie obviously rushes the baby straight to the hospital, and the news there is just grim. The doctors say it's severe hypothermia. They tell her the baby's survival is literally hanging by a thread. The next 48 hours, they're absolutely critical. I mean, the stakes just could not be any higher.
But just when you think this is a straightforward rescue story, the police start their investigation, and things get complicated. Really complicated. The story that Ellie is telling, it starts to fall apart. And not because she's lying, but because the evidence, it just doesn't add up.
So here's the big problem the investigators are facing. Ellie is absolutely positive she saw Sloane at the lake at 5:10 p.m. But the police find security footage, and it shows Sloane's car at a supermarket a full 30 minutes away at 5:20 p.m., just 10 minutes later. That timeline is physically impossible. So who do you believe? A grandma who's clearly in shock, or the cold, hard proof from a security camera? And to make things worse, Sloane has completely vanished. So you have a missing person with a rock-solid alibi. Naturally, the police start looking at Ellie in a whole new light. They start to wonder, could her grief over her son's recent death, coupled with the fact that everyone knew she didn't like Sloane, be causing her to make this all up? Is she just trying to blame someone? All of a sudden, our hero, the rescuer, starts to look a lot like an unreliable suspect. Just as the case seems to be going cold, a completely routine procedure back at the hospital changes, well, everything. The police, as part of the investigation, run a DNA test on the baby, and the results that come back, they don't just crack the case open, they send an absolute shockwave through the entire investigation. The first piece of data they get is just a single cryptic number, 25%. That's it. What on earth could that mean? The doctor explains it directly to Ellie. The baby, he says, shares 25% of his DNA with you, a quarter of his DNA. Now, what's the significance of that? Well, it's the exact amount of DNA a person shares with their biological grandchild. And then it hits her, the full, stunning truth. This isn't just some random baby she pulled from a lake. This is her family. This is her grandson, the son of Marcus, her only child, who had died just 8 months earlier in what she thought was a tragic accident, a grandson she never even knew existed. But this incredible emotional revelation, it's immediately followed by something even darker. The detective on the case comes to her with this bombshell. Your son's death, she says, it wasn't an accident. He was murdered. Someone deliberately sabotaged the brakes on his car. In an instant, everything changes. Ellie isn't just fighting for this baby anymore. She's now standing right in the middle of a homicide investigation for her own son. So yeah, this changes absolutely everything. Ellie's mission is now crystal clear, but it's twofold. First, she has to uncover the truth behind who murdered her son. And second, she has to fight for the right to raise this grandson she just met, a little boy she decides to name Elijah. But the system doesn't just hand him over. It's never that easy. She's immediately faced with this mountain of bureaucratic red tape.
I mean, look at this list. It's honestly heartbreaking. It just goes to show how the cold and personal gears of the system can create these impossible hurdles for a family that's already in the middle of a crisis. She's 63, she's grieving, she's in shock, and now she has to prove she's a fit parent, all while her son's murderer is still out there somewhere.
The key to figuring out the why behind all this, well, it turns out to be hidden in Marcus's own words. Ellie is going through his things and she finds his journal. And inside, an entry reveals a huge secret. Marcus knew Sloane was pregnant. And you can tell from his writing he was so confused and hurt that she was hiding it from him.
And then she gets to the final chilling entry. He writes that Sloane actually threatened him after he confronted her about the baby. He was scared, genuinely scared. And he writes down his plan. I'm going to talk to Mom tomorrow.
He never got the chance. He died that night. His secrets were supposed to die with him, until now.
So just when it seems like Sloane might have disappeared off the face of the earth, she makes one fatal mistake. She reaches out, and in doing so, she sets the stage for one last, incredibly dangerous confrontation.
Sloane actually calls Ellie from a burner phone, and her demands are just unbelievable. She wants her son, Elijah, and she wants $500,000. Every penny of Marcus's life insurance and savings. For that, she says she'll tell Ellie the real story. It's such a blatant attempt at manipulation. But Sloane underestimates Ellie. Ellie records the call and immediately starts working with the police to set a trap. They arrange a meeting at an abandoned boathouse. Ellie goes in wearing a wire. And Sloane, just dripping with arrogance and totally overconfident, confesses to everything. She admits it all. She killed Marcus to get his $200,000 life insurance policy. But then she found out he changed his will, leaving everything to his unborn child. So, in her twisted logic, she had to get rid of the baby too. Eliminate the heir, and the entire inheritance would be hers. I mean, the confession is barely out of her mouth when Sloane pulls a gun on Ellie. But the police had prepared her for this. Ellie hits a panic button she was given, and in an instant, police teams that were hidden all around the building storm the place. They arrest Sloane before she can even get a shot off. And just like that, the nightmare is over. Justice, thankfully, is swift. Sloane gets life in prison, no chance of parole. Ellie, who is rightfully hailed as a hero, is granted full and permanent custody of her grandson. And the most important part of all of this, little baby Elijah is safe, he's thriving, and he is finally home with the family who fought so desperately to protect him. You know, this whole harrowing case really makes you think. It leaves us with a pretty profound question. What truly defines family? Is it just the blood you share? Or is it the love you're willing to fight for, no matter what it costs you?